Good morning, Chairman Perry, Vice Chairman Sparks, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Larry French. I'm with the Texas Public Policy Foundation, formerly with the Water Development Board as the Director of the Groundwater Resource Division. Today I'm going to be addressing how water loss and revenue decisions are affecting large Texas municipal utilities and water suppliers. The issue isn't just leaking pipes, but it's also how the financial policies affect the utility's ability to maintain their infrastructure. So I provided some handouts that will supplement some of the remarks I'll be making this morning. To set the context for water loss, there's three different kinds of drains on water utility finances. First are the real losses, the physical loss of water from leaks and breaks, apparent losses from water delivered but unbilled, and then third, the transfer of some water revenues to a city's general funds, general fund transfers. These transfers can be called payments in lieu of taxes, sometimes called PILOT, the acronym, franchise fees, street rental fees, other charges. In summary, water utilities lose money not only from the leaks, but also from policy choices that divert utility revenue. Every year, the largest water suppliers in the state report their statewide water loss, both real and apparent, and that totals usually over 500,000 acre-feet per year, or about 3% of the water that's used in the state. To put that in context, it's probably about twice as much as the city of Houston uses every year. So it's a good quantity of water. When you look at the top 10 water losers in the state, those losses add up to about 253,000 acre-feet from their system. So that's about 1/2 of all water losses from the top 10 water losers. So this means that Texas water losses are heavily concentrated in the large systems. Makes sense, they're the biggest, they have the most pipes and so forth. And it's not evenly spread out, which means the problem is not diffuse, it's a manageable problem. The estimated annual financial impact due to water loss and general fund transfers from these 10 utilities together add up to over $355 million every year. The general fund transfers alone are about half that, $179 million. General fund transfers represent a little more than half of the loss. Real water loss total, the financial impact is about 35%, and the apparent water loss is about 14%. That means that cities are extracting as much money from water utility budgets through their transfers as they are in losing water through leaks and billing inefficiencies. So for these 10 utilities, considering the project costs for water loss control and mitigation that have been included in the approved 2026 regional water plans, altogether these proposed projects, which are eligible for state financing, they total $3.6 billion for the 10 utilities. But for 7 of the 10 utilities, their annual financial loss from water loss and general fund transfers is more than or about the same as the cost of their proposed projects to mitigate the water loss. So the point is, the money to fix some of the water loss problems largely already exists. Comparing the magnitude of these three drains to the future $1 billion annual input to the Texas Water Fund, the cost of the water loss is substantial, about 35% every year. General fund transfers alone represent about 17% of that $1 billion, which potentially reduces the capacity of the state to invest in water supply projects if some of that state financing is consumed by funding or financing water loss mitigation and control projects. So a better alignment of utility finances with the utility's needs would stretch those existing dollars and extend the reach of the Texas Water Fund. Furthermore, general fund transfers can create kind of a disincentive to mitigate water loss if the cities treat water utilities as revenue sources rather than as critical infrastructure. Investments in water loss reduction or control could be discouraged by effectively taxing efficiency gains that would otherwise go to fixing infrastructure. Limiting even a portion of the general fund transfers could fund substantial improvements, such as faster pipe replacement, better meters, active leak detection, and so forth. Fortunately, these large water utilities do engage in water loss mitigation programs. Not surprisingly, larger utilities spend more on water loss mitigation, but most utilities don't label mitigation spending as water loss reduction. It's sort of embedded in a variety of capital programs and so forth that address pipe replacement, meter replacement, and water pressure management. The result is kind of uneven investment and it's limited transparency and oversight. So in conclusion, the cost of water loss in Texas is significant. It's driven both by the operations and the policy. Since about half of the water loss in Texas is concentrated in the 10 large utilities, it potentially facilitates the effective oversight of water mitigation efforts. If we can keep more of the water revenues in water utilities, that'll strengthen the resilience and is more cost-effective than only building new water supplies. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.